I've seen you talk about a lot of things and how energetic and how exciting you can be. I've got children as well, and I know how I can't even imagine being the one to walk into that. But I want to just say you're a very strong woman. Um, from his childhood when he was born until even his passing, you said you went to hold his leg up to see if you could
Yes.
save him.
Hold his whole body up, you
Mm,
know. You just don't. A mother doesn't expect to walk into their son's house and find them
gone.
the way I did.
Mm,
And I have had some, you're just numb and you go through motions and you go through what you have to go through. But then, like for a whole year, it's been 2 years nearly since his passing, and for a whole year, I felt numb. I just went through the motions and lived life like you're meant to live life. And then, but I hadn't cried a lot. And I wondered why, because to me, he was at peace.
mm,
He, he's finally not hurting anymore, and that I can, it's a relief for me as well, knowing that he didn't have to go through that
all the
anymore.
things he was going through.
And all the trauma that he's gone through in his life, he he doesn't have to try anymore,
Mm,
if you know what I mean.
yeah.
It's a lot of people would think it's a gutless way to go and thoughtless, but if you knew what his life was like, it's not thoughtless. He was hurting so much that he didn't want to hurt his mum anymore.
Mm. And I reckon it's I think it's a good thing for parents to be able to see their kids be parents the way you've said you were to your kid. I'll give an example of how I was to my parents. Um, and I'm saying this to say it's important the role that parents play in the life of kids,
Yes.
whether they're together, whether they're not, whether they're separated, whether they are living different homes or the same home. It's huge, because I remember I gave this testimony once when I mean, in one of our chats about how I used to really stutter a lot. I couldn't say a sentence. And it's easy to just say it now and say I used to stutter a lot, but it took so many years, But one person or the people that would never laugh at me, the people that would never rush me out of what I'm trying to say were my family,
Patience. Yes.
especially my parents. My dad would never stop saying, you've been trying to say this thing for a long time, just shut up.
I
My
know. You
friends in school would
can't
say
do
that,
that.
but
Yes.
my parents wouldn't say that. So it's amazing the role that parents play. Would you want to talk a bit about that?
The
About
role.
the role that parents play in the life of kids? I mean, from your example, I mean, your experience.
Well, I believe in having fun with your kids. I believe in putting your rules down first so the kid knows where they stand with you when you're getting angry and they're not angry, but when they're not doing what you've asked them to do. And I have worked with kids a lot of my life, ones with learning difficulties, behaviour problems, and stuff like that, because I believe God wouldn't given me a son if he didn't think I could handle it.
Absolutely.
And he's been there with me my whole journey. Even if I haven't realised it, he's been there my whole journey. And a parent, when my son was younger, he had two parents, but from the age of 11 going on 12, I left my first husband because I wanted to get help for Darren. I was being held back. And I could see potential in Darren. I could see that he had something. And a mum never gives up on their kids. However hard, you go without so that you can help that kid. And to be honest, I got totally exhausted so many times. I did not know what to do. I prayed for strength so many times just to get me through situations with my son. And I think if I didn't have my faith, I wouldn't have basically got my son as far as I'd got. And he got himself as far as he did. But it's very, very hard to not give up on him.
You had mentioned that sometimes you felt tired and you felt exhausted, which is normal, natural. In such instances, what would you recommend that people that are going through such, when they are tired or when they feel like giving up or when they're exhausted, what would you recommend that they do? What would you say to them?
Well, if they're in a situation where they're yelling and screaming at each other and there's just no way, you know what to do next. You have to walk away. Just have to...
give them the space?
Give them the space. Let them go off and do something that they feel comfortable in doing, like jigsaw puzzles, Lego, something like that, or going for a ride on their bike. You've got to let them have their space because their mind, they can't control what's happening in their mind. And it's... and a lot of medications can't control that either. You have to give them their space so that you also get your energies back to deal with the situation.
Absolutely.
And too many parents I've seen just jump in there and just say, stop doing that. But there's a reason that they're doing it. You can't keep saying that. To me, it's like it's the parent copping out for not helping the kid. And one thing is, as a parent, you can never ever give up on your kid, whether they're normal, whether there's something wrong, anything. You have to keep fighting for them, and you keep fighting to, even at 38, he's an adult. He's looking after himself. But once a mum, you're always a mum. You're still hurting for them hurting. And a lot of the time there's nothing you can do. They have to want to do it. And when someone who's been on drugs and alcohol and they're in a bad way, and finally they ask for help. Now, there's mental health you can go to. There's your doctor. There was Mirror Book of Mental Health, was brilliant. They helped him a lot. But my son had I don't know what they called it, but a certain mental problem that a lot of mental health people couldn't help him with, and they didn't know how to help him. But when an alcohol and drug person asks for help, it has to be straight away. Because the next day or the next week they could say, no, forget about it, I don't want to do it. But I would take my son to appointments with the drug and alcohol people, and an hour or 2 hours before his appointment, they'd ring up and say, oh, we've had to cancel his appointment.
Oh.
So to me, that confidence builder and the guts that it's taken for him to say that he needs help, just to be kicked in the guts.
Mm.
And I think there needs to be a big shake-up in the blood in the drug and alcohol place. There needs to be so many more little groups of that all over Perth, WA, all over there, so that when someone asks for help, there's someone
responding immediately.
Yes, and somewhere to go. You have to be able to take them there straight away, not wait, because in my situation, it kept draining him of his confidence.
Do you think? I mean, do you think if he had better support from the institutions that were meant to provide such support to him, do you think it would have turned out different?
Yes and no. If he'd got the help earlier on in his life, yes, it would have. But I think towards the end there, his mind's made up. And you can keep helping and keeping helping them, but they have to want to change. They have to see what they're doing to themselves. And that's a big thing, is that they can't see what the drugs and the alcohol are doing to them.
Yeah.
My son, he hadn't come home one night. He'd gone on a drink binge in the park after work, and he hadn't come back to this place where he's living. And the guy rang me and said, oh, look, Darren hasn't come home. I says, okay, I'll go for a drive around the parks and stuff like that. But in the meantime, he'd come home. Well, I don't know what he'd taken, but this person, my son, was in the shower yelling and screaming and crying, and was not my son. He just called me the foulest names under the sun, go away, all this, and he wasn't himself. He was somebody else. And when parents need to find and see those changes in their teenagers or even in their young adults, and you start seeing these changes, you have to either get help for them. You need to be very, very open-minded with them. You can't be and do what you want to do as a parent for them. This is deeper than that. You have to first go to your doctor and tell them what's happening. And then mental health, that is a big, I reckon that's another subject altogether, because that needs a good looking into. When there's a whole lot of different people with a whole lot of different mental health issues put into one place, it doesn't work for all those individuals.
Yeah.
They all need, like the drug and alcohol people, they need a home or a
space for them.
A space for them to go, to chill out, to get clean. But maybe places like that run by parents of children that have either gone through it or have come out the other side, because they're the only ones that know what these people and these young people are going through and their behaviours. and they need a mum figure. A lot of them need a mum or a dad figure because a lot of them didn't have that proper upbringing in their life.
Yeah.
And as a mum, I tried to give both my kids a good upbringing. And my son always had a smile on his face, and he never gave up. He'd give things a go.
Upbringing is key. What would you recommend, or how would you advise young parents to bring their kids up? These days, a lot of people are just very busy and busy trying to hustle or tussle so many jobs and trying to be at so many places at the same time. And a lot of kids, if I want to compare now, this generation, and when I was growing up, a lot of kids these days brought up by the TV and the iPads
Yes.
and the games and by the phones, and parents tend to not have enough time for them. So when you're talking about upbringing, also adding to the fact that I'm someone who believes very strongly in discipline.
You.
And it wasn't be using anything to hit a child, but just
No.
being firm.
You have to be firm.
Yeah, need to let the child know that this is not right for you.
Yes.
This is right for you. Where you need to stand your ground, you need to stand your ground to say no. It's time to go to bed. For instance,
Yes.
it's time to go to bed. You have to go to bed. Or it's not time for your iPad. It's not time for the iPad. But also a lot of people have different
Views on
the
bringing
views of bringing children up. Some
Absolutely.
people believe that you just allow the kid do anything they want to do. If the kid wants if the kid wants to play, let him play. If the kid wants to use the iPad until 2 a.m., it's all right. As long as he's not doing harm to himself or doing harm to someone around them, it's all
No.
right. So what would you recommend?
You have to have structure in a child's life. I've worked with a lot of parents with kids who have problems. You have to have a routine, and you have to do it visually for the child to see, like make charts up. But that child, if the children don't want to do that, keep to the routine and whatever, you have to persevere with that. You're the parent. You can't let the children be the parent. And you have to have kids need structure. They really honestly do. You can't always let them go off and do what they want to do.
Yeah,
There is a time and a place for doing that.
absolutely.
And as a parents, you need to make time for your children, because one day they're going to grow up and leave home and they're not going to be there. You've lost that time that you thought you were going to have with them. And even when they get adults, you've got to make time for them. And making time for them is also making time for yourself. That way you're realising, hey, yes, I am doing too much. Yes, I need to slow down. But I believe that you have to have a go at things in life, in any situation, as a parent, as a single. You have to find who you are. Especially as a teenager, you're coming into finding who you are. And once you do that, never ever sway from that. Be proud of who you are. Don't let someone put you down. Don't let them talk you into doing something that you know in your heart's not right. And always try and be open with yourself, and so that way you're able to tell other people that how to live. You can't tell them how to live
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
They've got to learn through experiences. You've got
absolutely.
to let them make their mistakes. You've got to let them go through life making mistakes. You can't pick them up all the time. That way they're learning from their mistakes. We've had to do all that through our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that is what makes you stronger. And I also believe in never giving up. Whether you want to or not, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
You just keep going.
Yeah.
And that way you find your strengths, what you're good at. And I know that my passion and my goodness is for making people and putting a smile on people's faces, making them feel special. I like getting on people's level.
Sure. You had mentioned that Darren was his name, right?
Yes.
That Darren did a lot of drugs and alcohol, and with everything you said, it sounds like it played a huge part to what had happened to him.
It had
Yeah,
very much.
yeah. Can you advise the young ones on the dangers of doing drugs and alcohol? I mean, a lot of young people think that it's a cool thing, to be among the clique, to be among the people that looks like, oh, they are the best people in school or are among their mates that are doing drugs, and it's cool to be around them. But can you tell them, young people, about the dangers of doing drugs and alcohol?
Definitely the dangers of doing drugs and alcohol, especially mixing the two together, makes you somebody you're not. Before you take these drugs and alcohol, you are okay. You feel fine. But it messes with your brain. It makes you somebody that nobody wants to be around. You're going to go on a high, but it's the lows that are the hardest part for you.
Yeah.
Don't even try it, because the parents that have got to watch these kids who are on drugs, they can be rude to you. I know at one stage my son was on ice, and you have to be cruel to be kind to them. I said, I don't want anything to do with you until you are off this
This
ice.
ice.
I said, because it's making you something that I don't even like to see. And for a mother to have to say that,
It's
you have to be firm with them. You can't mollycoddle them. You can't give them money. If they need food, you buy that food. Do never ever give them money, because the first thing they're going to do is buy drugs, and they're going to buy drink. And it just makes them this horrible person to be with.
It's amazing. You made 2 points. You said, number one, it makes them become who they're not, and the second
Yes.
point is, you said, they are okay until they start having the drugs and alcohol. It is funny, because a lot of people go into drugs and alcohol thinking they are not okay, and drug and alcohol will help them. But the truth is, it's the other way around. You are okay until you start having drug and alcohol. No matter what situation it is, where you are at, you are okay until you start having drug and
Yes.
alcohol. And I think that's a big point to people who would want to get high just because they want to get out of a situation. You are okay until you start having it. Yeah, it's. I think that's a very that's a very huge one.
But I think the best thing to do before you even want to go down that line is you've got to talk to somebody. You can't keep it in here. It doesn't work.
And
Eats you up.
Yeah, and a lot of men, which I think is something that people need to stop saying. Oh, you're a man. You need to man up.
No,
You
they're
need to. You
human.
need,
They've got feelings. They've got a heart.
yes. I think
Yes.
I think a lot of men end up in a very like maybe tragic or bad situation because they don't really think it's right to talk to somebody. And I mean coming from an African culture where they tell you you're a man, you can't cry
Yes.
because you're a man, or you can't show your emotions because you're a man.
In my day, it was like that as well.
Yeah, you can't.
Men didn't.
Yeah, you can't show your emotions because you're a
No.
man. Because you're a man, you have to just toughen up and handle it like a man. But a lot of times, when men come out, they come out like they're all right or they're okay. But a lot of times, in the background, somewhere where there is no
It's
one,
eating
it's
them up.
eating them up.
Yes.
It's they are taking things, substances, and doing a lot of things just to cope with the fact that they have to come out to be the man that everybody wants to see them.
Yes.
But this is an opportunity to tell men that it is okay to cry. It is
Oh,
okay
it
to
is.
express your
Yes.
emotions. It is okay to talk to somebody. It is okay. And I tell young people around me, don't be an island. Don't live life by yourself.
No.
Get
It's very lonely.
exactly. I mean, get people who love you, to want to see your good, who are God fearing or are responsible to not lead you astray around you. So and people that you can trust, so that when you find yourself in such situations, you can walk up to them and talk to them. I've got mentors everywhere, and it has helped me a lot. There are times when I don't know who to talk to. I just call a mentor from back home, or I just call a mentor that is here and say, please, I need to see you this weekend. I want to talk to you about something that is bothering me, But when people see me in church, oh, he excited Chidi.
Yes.
I mean, nothing can be wrong with this guy, But I think it's important for men and women, for everybody to not hold back. Look for people that you can trust, and you can just pour out. Don't be. It's never wrong to express how you feel, because
Yes.
sometimes talking to someone is the first step of to your healing. I mean, sharing what is stressing you or what is bothering you to somebody that you trust is the first step to your healing.